Welcome to this webinar presentation and HHTV presentation of the Residents Council meeting, August 17, 2021. I'm Peter Shapiro. I will introduce myself again when I formally start the meeting, but I wanted to make a few comments first. Here we are again. We were hoping to be live in Anderson Hall for this meeting, and then fate turned against us. So right now, all we have is a conglomeration of pixels on your TV screens and computers. Your phantoms, you might say. Well, tiny images that are sparked by electronic images to make a facsimile of faces and everything else you see now. We really thought we'd be meeting in person today in Anderson Hall, masks off. You seeing us, we seeing you, for the first time in a year and a half. We had figured a way to overcome the problem caused by the reconstruction work in the Sky Lounge, the scheduling problem. You see, in the past, our resident council meetings, 2 o'clock on third Tuesdays, would be set up in Anderson Hall for the 2 o'clock meeting, and OK Corral would have the rehearsal at 3 o'clock in the Sky Lounge. We worked on that. Audrey Whitecamp, our vice president, and Jean Krill, the OK Corral leader, worked with our undaunted concierge Hunter to figure out a solution to this space problem. So the setup for our RC meeting could work with some modification that would allow the Corral to convene right after our meeting ended. Thank you, Audrey, Jean, and Hunter. Well, that was the plan. And then on Friday, a week or so ago, we learned that COVID had forced us to abandon that plan and go back to having a meeting via the webinar. We figured that being in Anderson Hall with everybody masked all the time, trying for us to, as speakers, to talk through the mask and not being able to see our faces would not be the best solution. So we decided to have this meeting by webinar. And another really important point is that there are people who depend upon lip reading, and having masks, it makes that impossible. So we figured we would just go as we are and hope for the best next month. Here we are on HHTV and Zoom again. Just one example of what we all are learning to cope with. Make plans, change plans, try again, and we'll overcome it. We have done it, we've overcome, and we'll continue to overcome. So I will call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Residents Council, officially started August 17, 2021. And we will start the meeting with welcoming all our guests and with a special welcome to Nancy Cope, welcoming Nancy to the Residents Council. Nancy was elected last week by the council in its planning meeting to finish the term of our beloved colleague who passed this early summer, Frank Jones. So welcome, Nancy. I know most people, if not everybody, knows you already, but if you'd like to say a few words, that would be really nice to hear.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Peter. My name is Nancy Cope, but there is a more important name today, and that name is Frank Jones. Frank Jones. Frank Jones came to Horizon House and he brought his wisdom, his beliefs about this world, and his gentle smile. I am so honored to finish his term on the Residents Council. Thank you. One more thought. I am known as a word person, and so I have been trying to come up with one word that describes my 20 years as a resident here. The word I keep coming back to is amazing. Yes, amazing. I like this word. For me, it has been an amazing 20 years. mainly because this community has dealt so beautifully and creatively with change. I can't begin to list the changes that have occurred in my 20 years here. We all come to Horizon House with our unique stories, our unique histories, and yet we respond to change in creative ways as a community. We discuss, we laugh, we grit our teeth, we even roll our eyes, and then we move on to tomorrow. 3 cheers for this amazing community, this amazing place. Thank you so much.
It's wonderful to have you with us, Nancy. We appreciate so much everything you bring to this work. You're going to be a great asset, absolutely great asset. Now, moving to another set of words, it is time for the June minutes. And I will call upon Connie Hellier to present them. As soon as I get my fingers. There we go. Okay.
The minutes of the June meeting, which seems like a long time ago, but at any rate, they have been circulated and edited, and I'm now presenting them for approval by the council.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I so move.
Thank you, Dick. Second by
George.
Thank you, George. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes signify by voice and by raising your hand. Okay, any opposed? Seeing none, any abstentions? The minutes are approved. Thank you very much, Connie. Now we move on to numbers and the financial report from Diane Tinker.
The July financial report, we had income of $5,630, expenses of $5,830. So we had a loss of $200 for the month. For the year to date, the income for the year to date, that's 4 months now, $20,166. Expenses of $24,093. So our net income for the year to date is $1,073. On a different note, the budget committee is accepting requests for mid-year budget adjustments, and that would mean asking for more funds. The coordinators are working with their committees on this process, and the changes will be voted on in September. So they will be in effect then for the rest of the year.
Any questions for Diane? I have a question. I should have warned you, Diane, but I'm sure you know, why is the figure of expense as high as it is for the month?
Well, it varies. You know, some of the expenses in July were for performances that will happen in August. But all the committee's expenses vary. Of course, it was the picnic, so we had picnic expenses in July. Every month is different, but yeah.
Very good. But we're on a good track.
We're on a good track, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Diane. Any other questions? Okay. Now call upon the Monday market report. Cami Elbow is here to deliver that. Thank you, Cami. Go ahead.
Hi. So taking Diane's income figures for July and dividing it by the 4 weeks in July shows that we had an average income of about $1,400 per week in July. It was an unusually good month for us. We made more money than we usually do, which is because we had some great donations. So it's The average goes up and down. Right now in August, it's about 1,100. So we keep on averaging, but it was a fabulous month. Clothing, our clothing area is booming. I asked Susan what she wanted me to say about clothing. She said, tell them it's booming. It's always one of our best departments. People love our clothing selection. Thank you for the donations and for shopping. Yesterday, we did a new thing for the first time. We had a one-day Christmas card sale in August. Get a jump on your Christmas cards. We did this because we had amassed a huge backlog of Christmas cards, and they were taking up lots of room in our storage closet. So we were trying to get a little bit ahead of the curve. So that was a one-day thing. The Christmas cards will not be out again until November. So we hope they'll come back then. But it was very jolly. We had Christmas music playing. We found a few little Christmas ornaments, and I think people had a good time. So we may do it again some other year. The only other thing I want to say is that we've been really happy that Horizon House has allowed residents to bring in guests now, which means a lot for the Monday market, because up until a few weeks ago, we could only sell to residents or staff. Now, some residents have been coming in and bringing their children and their grandchildren, and their grandchildren are often shopping to furnish a dorm room or a first apartment. So they're buying stuff. They're buying furniture and pots and pans and everything. So we're really happy that we can have guests. And they've been very respectful of the rules. Everybody wears a mask. And anyway, so we're having a fine old time. That's it. Thank you.
That is wonderful to hear. I'm so happy. And I'm glad the Christmas cards went over well. What a good idea that was, indeed. Okay. Thank you so much, Cammie. Any questions for Cammie? Okay, excellent. So now we turn to one of the features we usually have, which is our spotlight sequence. And George Counts will tell us about Sundays at Horizon House and introduce the speakers.
Thank you. As mentioned, this month, we would like to spotlight activities that take place on Sundays here at Horizon House. We will hear from 3 different groups. First will be presentations about our chapel and spiritual life here. They will be presented by Linda Purdy and Mary Margaret Pruitt. Ladies.
Did we lose?
You're muted. Linda, you're muted.
Thank you. I know better than that. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for allowing us to talk a little bit about what we do on Sundays. Mary Margaret Pruitt will be highlighting what the chapel committee has hosted and does on Sundays, and I'm just saying a little bit more about what spiritual care team does on Sundays. One of the things that residents themselves came up with that we have every Sunday morning now is 3 different churches who gather in 3 different places and watch their church's worship service on TV. And then after the program is over, then they have an opportunity to talk with one another and just connect as members of those churches. The first one is Plymouth UCC, which is across the street from us at Horizon House. The second one is the University Congregational UCC. And then the third one, which became Fran Mercer's idea, was to have the Universal Unitarian Church on 35th service shown. And so she, as our retired Unitarian chaplain, hosts that service. And we have an average of 30 to 40 residents who gather total for those 3 services on Sunday mornings. During the pandemic, before in-person meetings, the spiritual care team planned and put together worship services using the former spiritual care team member Terry Tigan, the current team member Dan Stern, Sharon Nichols, outside speakers, including some deceased speakers like Dale Turner, and the beautiful music of our organist LaDonna Bowers. And Carrie Christie filmed all of these, and they were shown on HHTV Thursday mornings and Sunday evenings. For August, we have discontinued these services on HHTV and are back to our in-person worship which means we will not be showing them Sunday evening. What we will have as it comes up will be quarterly remembrance services Sunday evenings. When the Sky Lounge opens, we hope to return to labyrinth walks or meditations, and that will depend on availability of the room, and it's usually Sunday afternoons. And right now in assisted living once a month, there will be the return of the ladies' tea party, which we used to call Tea for the Soul, not religious, just it's such a great inner well-being time to gather as ladies around a cup of tea and to visit. Sunday is also the day that most of the spiritual care team takes visits to assisted living, so that unless there's a special request, we try to be on those floors to reach out to people. And I will now turn this over to Mary Margaret from the Chapel Committee.
Thank you for this opportunity. The Vesper services on Sunday nights are one of my top absolute favorite activities of all the 70, which we are so enjoying here at Horizon House. It's an opportunity to be with others in this community who share my priority to thank God for the gift of life, the courage for death, the promise of creation, the miracle of everything that is good and beautiful and wise and just. It's also a time to recognize personal and world challenges and griefs, and to know of God's infinite love and support. All of this happens through the spiritual care department that Linda has just told you about, and by way of the Chapel Committee. Presently, the Chapel Committee, chaired by Lowell Kimball, has about 6 to 8 active members and meets monthly to plan for our speakers. These are usually ordained ministers, rabbis, or priests, and we also have a Vesper choir led by resident Georgia Nelson. LaDonna Bowers and Hetty Fredrickson are musicians who are supportive and contributing so much to these Vesper services. There haven't been any Vesper services since, I believe, February of 2020. So those of you who are recent residents have never had the opportunity to experience them. In previous years, one of our resident pastors, Roland Schlieder, felt that we should have more than one Sunday night of faith works, and suggested that we invite each other to talk about our commitments and our faith. And so we began the Faith Life Journey series, which has been such a gift in helping us to know each other and learn from each other. He also initiated a series of sacred music nights. So the form for our Vesper services is not set in concrete. We are open to ideas that you might have, and we ardently hope that very soon we will again be able to have our live last Sunday of the month Vesper services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda and Mary Margaret. Next, we will feature the activities of the Secular Humanists, which will be presented by Joan Lawson. Joan?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. I'm the facilitator for the Secular Humanists. We began as an email list. Then resident Jane Comet asked if anyone on the list lived here. So she invited a small group to her apartment where we shared our journeys to present thinking. We grew and headed for the Myrtle Red Edmonds room. then the Sky Lounge. And 8 months later, we were in 2, sometimes 3 rooms in Anderson Hall. We met every other week, then every week, then twice on Sunday for a live or video program, followed by discussion, followed by brunch in the dining room. COVID chased us out of our meeting place because we had too many people to social distance there. So we show our programs every Sunday on HHTV at 9:55 and 4, followed by Zoom discussion hosted by Beth Davis and Deanna Nelson. At first, we did not have a name. We were called Private Event. Each of us might describe ourselves differently: agnostic, atheist, free thinker, skeptic. We settled on secular humanists. We look behind the scenes to what is really going on. That's what's happening elsewhere. DNA, critical race theory, removing and exchanging statues, apologizing for actions of those who went before or are now doing unacceptable things. The Residents' Council had noticed us and assigned us to a coordinator. We submit reports and write a description of our purpose that you can see on the bulletin board as you enter the mailroom. Our steering committee meets monthly to select programs that cover a wide range of philosophical and moral questions that we feel are better answered by science, reason, and evidence rather than by faith, supernaturalism, and religious dogma. Serving are Warren Anderson, Charlie Weems, Connie Hellier, James Black, Beth Davis, Bill Anderson, and Deanna Nelson. We are strictly volunteer, not a religion, not affiliated with any local or national organization. We never run out of topics: sexism, racism, physical abuse, misuse of funds, infringement of religion into the public sphere, such as public education. We have not dealt with religious opening words at city councils, legislative sessions, Congress, and crosses on public land, but we do hear reports on Supreme Court decisions and have covered how God was put on the Pledge of Allegiance and on the money during the anti-communist days of Eisenhower. We acquaint people with the free thinkers of the past: Thomas Paine, Voltaire, Camus, Kant, Ingersoll, Darwin. Humanists are involved in a wide range of interests and concerns, but we focus. We don't get into subjects that our 70 other resident council groups focus on. Warren Anderson uses his film editing skills to prepare many of our programs, and has arranged to have our videos on HH Connect to be watched anytime and available to be forwarded to friends and relatives. To find them, screen share. How do I do this?
Screen share.
I did.
And then click on the one that you want to display and then hit it again.
There I go.
Yeah.
Now I have to go clear over here, don't I? Okay, so you go into HH Connect and then you go to menu. And then you go to this week. And then it says this week at Horizon House. Then you go to this week in links, Sunday, past secular humanist programs. And then you'll see this whole list and you can just copy and paste whatever you want and send it to who you want, or just hit the link and up comes your program. We have a bookshelf in the library, lower shelf just past the pillar. You're welcome to borrow any book or video, but please return it to the shelf. I can mail you a list. If you have a book or video that fits our mission, I'm going to get rid of Bill. Bill, bye.
Bill Anderson, a resident who has had some experience.
But please return it to the shelf. Okay, if you have a book or video that fits our mission, get it to me to include. Secular Humanists, attempts to be relevant, to make sense, and to provoke good discussion. We appreciate Horizon House staff, those who used to set up 70 chairs and now play our videos. And we invite you to check us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
Okay, and Joan, you have to stop sharing so that I can,
Okay, where do I do that?
oh, so either if you were up above, I would think is where to stop share.
Okay. Stop share.
Uh,
Thanks.
Excellent. So that means that I can now bring up, I hope, the next,
Thank you.
next
final-
names, next names. Here we go. Okay. Sorry for the delay, George.
The final presentation of our Sunday activities is the Sunday Musicals, Jennifer Stucker and David Parrott. And I believe David will begin the discussion.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. Can you hear me?
Excellent.
Oh, good. We meet Sundays at 2:00 in Anderson Hall. We've been back now for about 6 weeks, and it's wonderful to gather together. The programs are put together by a committee of approximately 9 of us, and we welcome new members to fit into the rotation. The performances are symphonic war horses, more obscure pieces, great solo performances, occasional opera arias, jazz, world music, Sousa marches for the 4th of July. Just anything that anyone would like to put on. The performances last for approximately an hour, plus or minus 15 minutes. There's one other thing I'd add. We have a huge collection of CDs available in the B1 TV room. They don't need to be signed out. You can borrow them at your leisure, play them whenever you want, and return them when it's time. Jennifer, would you like to add anything?
Sure. I have a couple of things I'll add to that. Currently, we do have just around 9 members, but we always welcome more. And there's plenty of music to go around. So if you're interested, please let us know and we can add you to the schedule. We don't really have any advance announcement other than what's in the alert and what's coming up the following Sunday. But we don't schedule things way in advance and have a list of what's coming up for the next 3 months or anything like that. We do have a list of the people that are going to be presenting. And so everybody knows where they fall and what their date is, and so they can be prepared. So that's about the amount of coordination that we have, other than each person is responsible for getting in touch with Hunter and organizing the equipment that they need, and whether they're going to show a video or they're just going to have audio. And then if they need a microphone for announcements they may want to make. So that's, and then usually someone is there to help everything get set up correctly and adjust the sound or lower the screens or that. So it helps to, if you're putting on a program, to get there a little bit early. I just want to reiterate that all sorts of music are welcome, and we really like the creative things that people may not have heard before, but also the standards that people love and are very attached to. So please, participate. I think this last week we had the most that we've had post-COVID. We had 30 participants. Usually it's somewhere around 20, 25. And I don't know how room scheduling is going to be in the future, but in the past we met sometimes up in the Sky Lounge. So we would go between the Sky Lounge and down in Anderson Hall. So more the merrier. I think that's it.
Thank you very much. I think you can see by these three presentations of activities going on here at Horizon House on Sundays, there is something here for every spirit, every soul, every interest. My thanks to all three groups of you. Peter?
Thank you, George. It's a great series of presentations. I really appreciate you setting that up. We now move to announcements and reports. And first one up, did I share the screen? No, I didn't. Yes, I did. And the first one up is Audrey, our Vice President, Audrey Whitecamp. Okay, Audrey.
I know better than that, sorry. One of the favorite parts of being the VP for administration is my role as the question lady. In pre-pandemic times, I sat at a card table at the close of the meeting, right next to the food table, and took questions from residents. I can't really solve people's problems, but I can get the official answer from whatever staff person has that situation in their bailiwick. What kind of questions? One was, why doesn't the thermostat in my central tower apartment seem to have any influence on my apartment? Or, when my dishwasher breaks, can I ask for a specific brand for replacement? And I was able to get the official answers for both of those things. So bring me your questions, call me, text me, email, stop me in the hall. Today's question is, if the lights in Freeway Park are on an automatic schedule, which I had reported earlier, why do we often see them lit up in the middle of the day? Freeway Park now has a paid concierge who's on duty a couple days a week, and she gave me the answer. You may not have noticed it, but at the ends of some of the benches are electrical outlets. These are very popular for people who need to recharge their cell phone, especially if they are homeless or, in a shelter at night. Every time somebody plugs in something into one of those outlets, it changes the automatic schedule. And the concierge said, so we have lights on during the day, but we have an amenity for people who use the park. And I thought that was an excellent answer. So bring me your questions, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me find my share screen. There we go. Next up is Beth Davis. Beth, you're on.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm on to talk about assisted living and the 5 committees that have been created to have programs. Now, the backstory is that Horizon House was just very luckily built. They did a good job so that both independent living and assisted living are here under the same roof. And therefore, in normal times, people could go back and forth from one to the other, visit your friends, whatever. And then the pandemic came. But before that, and changed everything, but before that, sometime in the last decade, a bunch of people went, we don't need to just visit our friends. We could do all sorts of things to bring more interesting stuff into assisted living. And it would please them and it would please us as giving people. So Horizon House being what they are, they created 5 separate committees, which have been doing a good job ever since. even during the pandemic, they managed to do a little bit, as much as they could. And now things are opening up. So one of the committees is active helpers. And the chair of that is Pat Graves. And that is almost any activity you, a committee member, can think of doing, cooking, anything, as a program to help people in assisted living. For instance, as I said, cooking something, being part of the exercise group. Then they also came up with escort committees, and that takes people down from assisted living down to Anderson Hall to be part of the viewers in some program. And next, there's friendly visitors, and they visit people in assisted living, take them out for a walk, have lunch with them, whatever they can think of doing. And then there's a flower committee that brings vases of flowers to put in a variety of different places where they add beauty to assisted living. And finally, there's the musicians committee, which obviously brings music in on their own schedules. All of them are opening up now. And all of them would be delighted to have some people try out a few of these and see if any of them please themselves. So you can look on HH Connect to find out who the committee leaders are, the chairs, or you can call me, Beth Davis, 3676. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. That was very, very informative, and what a service the community provides to other members of the community in all sorts of circumstances. That is just good to hear. Next up is Maygerstel. May.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
This has been a difficult year for all of us. However, it has also provided an opportunity for us to figure out new ways of living in a community. As the liaison with a number of resident committees, I get to observe and work with various resident-run programs. The talent, experience, thoughtfulness of all the participants is truly inspiring. A few of the meetings that I've attended this year are the Wellness Committee, the Welcoming Committee, the Low Vision Hearing Challenge, and the Communication Committee. All of these groups are working so hard to enrich the lives of Horizon House residents. I would like to encourage you to attend any of our myriad resident-run programs and activities. I am certain that you too will find these programs and activities intellectually stimulating, fun, and rewarding. Getting involved in our amazing Horizon House community is one of the ways of coping in our COVID journey. And in the process, you will not only get to know your neighbors, but you will reap the rewards of being engaged and involved. This, I do believe, is the strength of our Horizon House community.
May could not have been said better. And you know what we've done this last 40 minutes or so? We have shown, I think, to people who don't really know the Residents Council, maybe they've just moved in the last few months, what a joy it is and what a service the council provides to the committees who really do the work, but which provides great opportunity for reward for the council members. So just keep us in mind as you integrate into this community, or if you've been here for a while, of the many ways that service can be performed here. Next up is Ann Kelly.
Thank you, Peter.
And I'll be ready to move the slides at your command.
Thank you. After a pause of over a year, the art fair sponsored by the Art Committee will be held in Anderson Hall on September 17th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The theme this year is photography, either still or digital. It must be the work of Horizon House residents or staff members. Marianne Counts and her committee are busy soliciting entries and planning for the display, which includes everything from soaring mountains, gorgeous sunsets to portraits. And you see her committee members here, John Pound, Louise Alvarez, and Gloria Thiele.
Too soon, okay. There we go.
There are entry forms still available in the mail room, and they're due by the 21st. So you better hustle. Here are some shots from previous years showing residents enjoying the fair. Some of the previous art fairs featured crafts such as wood carving, ceramics, carving models, and so on. And another featured fibers, knitting, weaving, quilting, sewing, or baskets. Next slide, please. One show displayed painting, printmaking, ink or charcoal drawings. And there is an endless source of talent in this community. So come with your friends and be prepared to be awed, charmed, and inspired. September 17th, Friday, from 10 to 5 with masks, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. We're looking forward to that. It's so sad that we had to cancel last year. We were just on the verge of doing it, I think. So we now move on to philanthropy and Marjorie Purdue, who will talk about one of the functions of the philanthropy committee. Marjorie? Are you muted? Marjorie, your microphone is muted. There we go.
There, thank you. I'm going to let you know more about an ingredient in Horizon House's special sauce today. That ingredient is the gem grants. I don't know how much you all know about gem grants, but there's something there for everyone. Soon you will see pink bows blossoming all over Horizon House. Each of those bows is attached to or is near something that has been bought with a gem grant. Chair cushions on the C&D patios, exercise equipment for the gym, weights for the gym, the new ping pong table and the F-level game room. Those are all objects, but not all gem grants have to be objects. They can include events, one of which is coming up soon, August 27th and 28th. Brian Carr and a group of dancers will be presenting a choreographed program called Reflection. That will be on the C&D level patios at 6 p.m. the evenings of August 27th and 28th. Okay, so how do you get a GEM grant? What's this all about? First of all, you need an application. They will be available on the table between the philanthropy offices on the first floor as you head toward the elevators in the West Wing. There will be a workshop, a drop-in workshop on Monday, August 23rd, where the philanthropy staff will be available to tell you whether your suggestion is a good fit for a GEM grant. They will also tell you the requirements for a GEM grant and will help you write your application so that it will be successful. Is there a piece of equipment you would like to see here? Something that we don't have that you think would enrich our lives? Now is the time to make that application so that your idea might become a reality. The deadline for the GEM grants is Friday, September 10th. Your application needs to be returned to the philanthropy office. $25,000 is the amount available every spring and every fall for GEM grants. Right now, that amount is just sitting in the area of greatest need fund, which is part of the Partners in Caring campaign, ready to be awarded to purchase items that residents and staff members suggest. Don't forget the two important dates, August 23rd and September 10th. Go for it. Apply for a GEM grant.
Oh, great. Good news. That is really good news. So much has been done with the grants that have been awarded over the years. And it's a great tradition, a great part of our work in this community. Thank you, Marjorie. Okay, now getting cleanup. Our unconquerable, inimitable, usually fathomable executive director, Mike Oster.
Thank you, Peter. Wow, I humbly follow all of those reports. To your point, Peter, this is the demonstration of community in action. And as May said, you know, everyone has found a way to be in community, notwithstanding the limitations that we are under. And it seems to be getting better all the time. And of course, we all want to, you know, get to an in-person meeting and in-person events, but I just applaud you for the work you do in given the restrictions that we have and the limitations. So hallelujah for that. The couple of things. First, I just want to mention if there was any confusion about yesterday's COVID message, it was only to report the status on a couple of staff people who were confirmed cases of COVID. Everything else remains the same. We want everyone to be in masks in public spaces, whether you've been vaccinated or not. Just want to take every precaution to limit any transmission of this illness. On to some of the bright spots. You know, there was the Pride event, the 4th of July picnic, the resident picnic. I had the privilege of going to the resident picnic, and gosh, with the tents up, and it was a wonderful day, not too hot. I think people had a lot of fun. It was great that we could get out there and do that. And it was just a wonderful job put on by Ruth Eller and her team of people to make it all happen. So a great event. Oliver, of course, celebrated his 5th anniversary in August, and you know we can't say enough good about Oliver. I mean, he's the man. He does an outstanding job in absolutely every single thing he does, and he's the one who inspires and really motivates the team to really step up their game at all times. And he's the one to talk to if there are issues with people, because he's the one who works with our staff to make them as effective as they can be. The in-person fireside chat in July was, you know, it wasn't as big as attendance as I was expecting, which tells me a little bit that there's still legitimate caution out there. Now that's obviously been scaled back, but we probably weren't quite ready. We kind of felt like maybe we were, but we tried that hybrid. We'll try to improve on that hybrid. I don't know if you noticed, but John Daniels, bless his heart, he saw the work crew out front a couple weeks ago and said, hey, they're doing cement. How about if they fix this uneven patch on the sidewalk that we've been griping about for years? And the city would not let us do ourselves, and the city would not fix it themselves. And somehow, some way, we got the permit to let that crew fix that spot right outside of our main entrance that was uneven sidewalk. And that was because John Daniels just stepped up, seized the moment, got my attention, we mobilized, and made it happen. So that is an event that gets inspired by residents who contribute and pay attention rather than just, assuming something will be figured out by somebody else. He did it himself and made it happen. Again, the mask reminder is, please wear your masks. I mean, it helps. We know that it reduces transmission of this COVID business. So please do that in all the public areas and do your best to keep the social distancing so that we are extra safe. On dining, I know it's a total hassle and unfair that it's a household per table, and that puts particular pressure on single individuals who don't have the opportunity to share the table in the way that couples might. But we're at that point where we just need to keep that separate for now. We'll revisit that as soon as we can. And it puts some pressure on the staff in dining to be the policeman of that. And it's just a lot better if everyone polices themselves and doesn't come into the dining room, sitting with other families and then having to be told not to. We had a case the other day where some residents were joined with other residents from another family and just said, well, we're not moving. We're not going to do it. And that just makes it hard for our staff. They can't be the ones to always be the heavy on that. So please do your best to try to honor that until we can get it removed. The employee mandatory vaccine policy update, we were first out of the box of all of our competitors to say we were going to go with a mandate on vaccines. And we did give our staff time to September 30th. And I think that's been really wise. It's been wise because it's been enough time to get people acclimated to making choices that work for everybody. We're 86.7% vaccinated among our staff. And, pretty decent. I think we're going to get pretty close to 100%. And those who just simply are going to draw the line, that is unfortunate. We hope that's not the case. But it's only 3.6 that are partially vaccinated. So the fully vaccinated is really, really terrific. I've mentioned, and we'll have to keep saying that we do have a staffing challenge. None of this is about saving money. None of this is about cutting corners. We have staffing challenges in every single department. We've had positions out for a long time. We have changed our pay rates, and we will continue to change pay rates as we need to. It's not about money. There is a dynamic taking place in our country in terms of how people choose what they do for work, and we are a part of that selection or non-selection, and it's concerning. So we are doing our best to navigate with the staffing that we are able to get, and we will continue to hustle to get the staffing that we need. And if there are interruptions in service, it's not because we're just trying to be, not pay attention. It's because we might not have people who can snap into action and solve the problem in the way that we would hope. Small group sessions, we'd hope those would be in person, but they were on Zoom. I think that it was effective. We shared a lot of information, took some questions, and encouraged people to participate in those. It's just one more way in which we can get together and cover issues that are of importance to everyone. And I think it's an effective tool. We have many different channels of communication, and I know sometimes they bleed over into one another, but no one channel communicates everything. So sometimes we have to pick and choose from a number in order to stay fully informed. Let's see, we had a total of 52 residents, which is much shyer than what we would have in a public if we were meeting in person. But again, it's what we can do for now until we can all be in the room. Let's see, we had a Board of Trustees meeting on August 3rd. We had a lot of conversation about strategic planning that we've gone through over the last 18 months, and we'll be talking more about that in the coming weeks.
Just get right there.
We'll be preparing a document that helps people understand some of the thinking behind strategic planning, so that when we get into discussion, people will have context and feel informed. Let's see, the CEO monthly report, again, it's a lot of information, financial information. Sometimes it might be confusing, but there are tidbits in there that I think will be helpful for people to know. And, this is not something that gets shared in other communities. They don't talk about their finances. They keep everybody in the dark for their own reasons. And we lay it out there. We lay it out there so that you see exactly what we're thinking about and what we're working with and what we're struggling with. Sometimes it's not easy to be in that situation because an informed body asks questions, and heaven forbid should that ever happen, right? Well, we are okay with that, even when it's not the question we want to have asked. But that's how we operate, and we hope that that is something that's appreciated. Then lastly, I'll say that we'll skip our August fireside chat. Our next one will be on September 24th. And let's cross our fingers and hope that things have changed a little bit and we're back in person. Peter, that's all I have. If there are questions, I can certainly take them, but I know you're on a tight schedule.
Well, I'll add another adjective to my introduction. The three I said, I'll add illuminating. So thank you very much for that good report. And thank everybody for your participation. Really, the information we gleaned today is very, very helpful to going forward as we will into the future, adjusting when necessary, accomplishing when possible, and always keeping the spirit up. So with that, I will close the meeting and thank you all for attending. Bye-bye.